and you're listening to a show called Free Association. And yet again, I don't have any real agenda for the show. I'm just going to play it by ear, maybe do a little bit of research as I go along. I wanted to talk a little bit, first of all, about the coronavirus situation in the UK, which we haven't done a particularly good job of it. There's about 50,000 cases, I think. I haven't checked the figures recently, but it was going up over 40,000, and we're probably closer to 50,000 now. But they're going to start reviewing what went wrong at some point. Boris Johnson obviously isn't going to want to accept any responsibility for anything because he never does, and you can only expect him to continue the behaviour that he's had for his whole life. He's not going to change his behaviour just because it's a coronavirus of some sort and a national emergency of some sort, if you want to call it that. It's certainly perceived as an emergency. It was perceived as an emergency in the beginning, and we still didn't manage to close things down as quickly as Europe. And it seems to be that the closing things down rapidly and opening up again slowly is the way to sort the problem out, whatever that problem might be defined as, whether it's defined as a virus from a lab in China or a virus that was delivered by military athletes to China from the United States, wherever it came from. I don't mind what the origin story is just at the moment because I don't know what the origin actually is. And there's quite a few different versions to choose from. So I'm not too concerned about origin stories, but however you define the problem, we didn't do a very good job of sorting it out. And the public inquiries won't be for a while. There's still ongoing isolations, quarantines, self-isolation. Social distancing is now 1 meter wherever possible instead of a mandatory 2 meters. So we've got the ability to have a human conversation and put your arm around somebody back pretty much. But it's still not the way that it was last year, for example. And the cafes still aren't all open. The bars aren't all open. My local bars are student bars and bars that are based around music and gay bars. I live in the gay part of town by Newcastle College, if people know where that is in the context of Newcastle upon Tyne. Newcastle College is like a sixth form college. It's for people doing after school courses, usually technical courses of some sort, preparing for work. So it's aimed at 17, 18, 19-year-olds mainly. They're doing degrees there now as well. So it can be a student population that's older than that, but mostly it's 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who haven't quite got into the jobs market, didn't do as well as they might have done to get to university. So it's in between the two levels of education. It's universities at the top. That's further over the other side of town. Just 2 universities in Newcastle, plus Newcastle College, plus there's a college over in Gateshead as well. So there's a lot of education-based stuff going on in Newcastle. Relies on the student population for a lot of its income, and there's no students around at the moment. So the bar at the end of my street is the Dog and Parrot, which is primarily a student bar. That one didn't bother to open. It looks like they're doing some refurbishment work on it. I saw vans outside a couple of days ago, but there's no sign of it opening as yet. The Blonde Barrel, which is a gay bar at the Centre of Life, which is a couple of 100 yards away from me, that hasn't opened yet. pretty sure Rusty's hasn't opened yet either. But the other bars on Scotswood Road last week when I was out were requesting the people download an app to their phone, and we're only allowing 3 people in at a time, so a minimum of 3 people per table. So they're making sure that they've got enough people in to make money. The prices have gone a bit bananas. I think I was told they were charging £5.40 a pint for a beer, which is twice as much as they do during the day normal. Well, not quite twice, 1.5 times what they normally charge. They normally charge £4 a pint or thereabouts, £4.50. But during the day it's cheaper on a weekday. But anyway, that's by the by. The point is that most of the bars on Scotswood Road are open, but they're restricting access and they're charging more money. So prices have gone up. There's more security around, and it's changed the atmosphere. It's changed the atmosphere in the gay area. And there's a bar opening. Well, it looks like it's being refurbished at the moment. It used to be called the Barking Dog, and then it was the Dog, and then it became Central, and it looks like it's reopening again as Queen's. They're refurbishing at the moment. I don't know what that's going to be like, but at least it gives another option. And it's interesting that some of the bars in Newcastle just haven't opened again. Any bar that relies on the student population isn't going to be making a profit. Any bar that's relying on stag and hen parties is probably not going to open for a while. Probably not until till at least September, October time when the students get back. So you might pick up some trade from that, from the Freshers' Week or whatever, as well. So it's in their interest to open, but things are getting back to normal slowly, except that it's still compulsory masks on public transport, and I think from next week it's going to be compulsory masks in any shop, so that includes supermarkets, food shops, where you didn't have to wear a mask for the last 3 months. So they've now decided that the people need to be wearing masks, which is either paranoia, or it's overreaction, or it's the right thing to do. I don't know which. I tend to think that it's a bit paranoid, because there's the cases of coronavirus symptoms are going down very rapidly. They have been, apart from in a couple of places where they've slowed the opening up process to try and keep things sensible. I think Leicester was closed down still last week, but it's due to open again. So there are a couple of cities where there's been specific local conditions, and the reopening process has been slowed down. But mostly it's working reasonably well. The first weekend, the bars were full to overflowing, and there was no way to do table service. Now they're doing table service again, and because everything's calmed down a little bit, there's less people around, so they're able to do table service. You've got to sign in and give contact details when you go into the bar I was in last night. But they're not overly stressing about it. They're just giving you a form to fill in, basically, which is fair enough. I normally pay with my credit card, so they could track me down from that anyway. So I'm not giving anything away that's not already there. And I don't mind that much, because it's just it is a public health issue as much as anything. So I'm working my way through all of these kind of things to think about, and public health's a primary thing. I'm trying to be pragmatic about it. I'm not overreacting. The first week of the compulsory masks, I wasn't a happy man, but I got used to it. Got used to the idea. I'm trying to be pragmatic about it. hopefully everybody else is going to be as pragmatic as possible about it as well. And we'll get through it, and we'll get back to something that resembles normality over the next 5 or 6 months. It'll probably take till Christmas to get back to normal. I would imagine, and then SARS-CoV-2, will just be another flu bug. Pretty much after that, it stops being special once it's been around for 6 months, and people get used to the idea. Anyway, that was a little bit of a rant, but I think I needed to get a couple of things off my chest. So why not rant a little bit? Oh, I've got another one. It's I've been thinking about buying a gadget called a Spooky 2, which is based on Royal Rife's gadget from the 1950s. His machine that he was using to cure disease, including cancer in the 1950s or whenever it was. So I looked up Royal Rife on the Cancer Research UK website this week. I thought I'd just check to see if there was anything on there. And it turns out that even though there was a study at the University of Southern California with 24 cancer patients, and they tested Royal Rife's machine, and it came up 100% cure rate. It was 80%, and then they did another round of treatments, and it was 100% cure rate. So even that doesn't feature on the Cancer Research UK website. So Cancer Research UK is an organisation I'm going to have to take a look at in more detail, because all they said on the website was more research is required. But then you think about it, they're Cancer Research UK. They're the people who've got the funds to make the research happen. So why is there an entry on their website for a potential cure for cancer that says more research required? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. Doesn't make any sense to me. So the possibilities are limited as to why. I mean, there is a possibility that their funding only goes towards pharmaceuticals, or only goes towards particular types of treatment, at which point I would have to ask why. What assumptions are being made about the causes of cancer? What assumptions are being made about potential treatments? Because assumptions are interesting things. An assumption can cloud your vision, or it can clear your vision, depending on how accurate it is. And given that there are a limited number of cures for cancer available, most things that happen with cancer are just to relieve symptoms. I'm thinking that the assumptions might be faulty if they haven't actually come up with a cure for cancer in general. Specific types of cancer, they do sometimes come up with things that look like cures, but I'm not sure that the assumptions are correct. I think that it's much more about dealing with symptoms than it's actually about curing anything. Which kind of leads me on to Immunics in its own way. So with Immunics, they talk about they define cures in lots of different ways. They make a lot of different assumptions about the cause of disease, most of which I think are accurate. Personally, seem to make sense to me at least. But the way they define cure is not necessarily only about curing the full disease. It can be about curing symptoms. Relief from symptoms is a form of cure. So I'm fine with that definition. At which point you start to look at Cancer Research UK again. Excuse me, let me have a drink. Ooh, I got this. This is sparkling orange and lemon organic lemonade, which I got at lunchtime from the local shop. And it's very tangy, quite nice, honest organic lemonade, I think it's called. Okay, that's a bit better. Right, so if relieving symptoms is one definition of cure, I'm fine with that. That's not the definition that Cancer Research UK uses, but it is a definition that Immunics uses. So I'm more prone to use the Immunics definition than I am to use the medical definition that the Cancer Research UK uses. It's relieving psychological symptoms is also a cure. It's not just physical symptoms. So if you look at the definition of cure then becomes a process of removing symptoms, removing pathology, in Immunics terms at least, until you get to a point where there are no possible causes of the disease left, at which point that's a full cure, and you would get a negative medical test, as they describe it on the Immunics videos that I've watched over the last few weeks. Now I'm good with describing relieving fear as a cure for whatever the fear was about. I'm good with that kind of psychological cure definition. That definitely works for me, and it's something to think about. Let me play a little bit of Bayard Barnes again. I know I played one last week, but let's do a little bit of this again, because there's a lot of videos to choose from, and they all have something in them, even though he rambles a little bit. Let's try just a general. Right, this is about 10 minutes, and it's on the Cure Guy channel on YouTube, and the video is called Immunics Cancer Cure.
Didn't he have 2 tumors wrapped around his heart?
He had 2 tumors wrapped around his heart.
So all I remember was once he began removing cancer and doing the other treatments, the next report I remember was one had completely gone and one was half the size that it had been.
Well, all of this is in his cancer cure shows, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to show the page to our viewers now. Okay? All this is in the Cancer Cure Show.
By the way, you get there just by typing cureshow.org.
Here it is. This is the Cancer Cure Show. And we have a bunch of people in movies. We have cure shows with MDs here on that side of the page. And then down here is what we call our featured shows. So here we are at Charles' Cure Show. I'll just see what I did is it's really right near the top. We go from Cancer Cure Show right down here to the featured shows. And Charles is the second one, and as our viewers can see, we have, I guess, half a dozen shows or so with him here. Start with the very last one. See, this is Charlie, who cured skin cancer, but up here is Charles number 5.
This is Charles Smith. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, this is all his cure shows. I want to suggest that people start with the last one, and the reason is, if you start with the first one, you won't understand. what he's going through at all. You just won't understand it. Because when he started, he was in complete denial of cancer. Here's his first show, it's the Num-1. He wouldn't even talk about the cancer. At his first show, for the first hour, he won't even talk about the cancer.
Yeah, he was talking about his tinnitus.
And you kept hinting to him, like, I remember how you were saying, well, let's test, what would you like, what's the most important thing for me to work on? And his testing was telling him to work on the tinnitus. And you know what? His testing...
That's called interference.
Yes, but you know, it also might have been right, because he may have been comfortable enough working on his tinnitus to work up to the point where later he could just touch on the cancer, which is all he did in the first show. He just touched on it.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. I don't think we should gloss over it.
Yes.
But when people are testing, they're going to go to the hub and they're going to test for something that they want to cure, and they're going to get something that looks like it's completely unrelated.
I know.
It could be just the thing that they need to get them to the right place.
People don't understand how this works at all when they start doing it. They're doing it, but they don't understand it. And they need to be comfortable with doing something that they don't understand.
Right.
They have to get out of their mind. This is not a head trip.
Right.
It's not logical. It's not a head trip. It's counterintuitive. It's not what you would think it would be.
That was funny that because I sent out these email reminders, and one of them is to do your morning routine, which consists of various immune actions and removals and things. And I realized one day that the main point of doing that is not even to do specific things, but to do things where you're not coming from your head and the normal places that you start operating from. As soon as you wake up and you go into your mental body, you go into your physical body, what do I have to do today? What are my chores? What's my list? Let me get my body moving. All these different things that people are in a rut of doing, and the morning routine really takes you out of it into your higher abilities and intelligence, so that you can operate from there. As soon as you start off, it's a good way to start your day.
So I think you saved Charles' life. That's what I was saying to you the other day.
Well, we did. The cure team did. I started, I was the one running to the cure team, but, we did it as a team.
I think you saved his life because I don't think he ever would have done it without you. I think he would have done a cure show or two, and we never would have heard from him again.
No, you're right. As Daisy said to me before I ever talked, and she said, I think you're the only person who can help him. Because he was, going into hospice.
Well, he stuck with you, and you stuck with him, and you talked to him so many more times than I did. Unfortunately, we never recorded those.
Right.
What we have is 6 recordings of him with us on the Cure Show, so of course it sounds like we all saved his life together.
I remember what our phone calls basically consisted of. Looking back, I can sum up what we did on all those phone calls.
Okay, do it. Sum it up.
I asked him questions.
Okay.
I asked him questions about every aspect of his life. Like I would see something, we would talk about something, like it wouldn't make sense to me, and I would ask him, I asked him, why did you leave your wife? And he started to think, he couldn't give me an answer, and then he started to look at what was going on with him, and he came up with all these things that he hadn't realized or noticed about himself. And he slowly but surely began to see that he made a bad choice.
Yes.
And that choice for all the wrong reasons. And when he started to kind of recommit to going back to his family, I believe that that's when he started getting well, because it gave him something to live for.
I do too. And I think his priest helped him with that.
I don't remember that.
He was
seeing a priest.
He was seeing a Catholic priest who stuck with him and kept talking to him about his relationship with his wife, like you were.
Did the priest do that? Yeah, probably.
Yep, like you were, and you had an ally. We never had the priest on the show, but we should have. It's too bad we didn't. but you had an ally, but you might have been able to do it without the priest. I don't know, but anyway, you got the guy to confront. You got him to lay out his whole life.
Right.
It's just like what Ian says on the homepage? Kathy's husband, Ian.
Oh, you mean what he says about him?
He says the definition of Immunics is you remove the thing and then you lay your whole life out and you cure your cancer. Or something. I'm paraphrasing. I put a quote that Kathy sent me from him on the homepage.
I have to check it out.
Ian is a master. He is a real bottom liner,
Right.
He bottom lines things. So does Kathy. They're a bottom line family. It's something. Anyway, so Charles had cancer. He was a stage 4 terminal cancer, and he ended up with no cancer like around 2 or 3 months later. It took around a TV season to cure him. That's true, isn't it, though? It was X number of weeks, it was probably...
Yeah, it was several months, a few months.
Yeah, it was a few months, that's right.
Definitely less than 6 months.
Yeah, it was definitely... Well, see, but the whole thing, when he first discovered the cancer, when we first met him, when the cancer was getting worse, that was another 6 months. So we were hanging out with Charles a long time.
I don't remember when the cancer was getting worse, because when he was going into hospice, didn't he have 2 tumors wrapped around his heart?
He had 2 tumors wrapped around his heart.
So all I remember was once he began removing cancer and doing the other treatments, the next report I remember was one had completely gone and one was half the size that it had been.
Well, all of this is in his cancer cure shows, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to show the page to our viewers now.
All right, that's where it started from. So that gives you an idea of that's a conversation between a couple of people in the cure team, as they call it. Bayard Barnes is one of them. The other one was I can't remember the name of the lady that was in there, but it was on the screen, but I can't remember. Never mind. You get the idea. They're claiming that they can cure cancer. I'm going to assume that the assumptions they make and the process they go through is a reasonable one to cure things. It may or may not cure cancer. I don't know. I've not got experience of that, but I'm using it at work on a fairly regular basis to keep my production of appointments up, and it works for that. Definitely works for that. As does emotional freedom technique, as does Sedona method. There's lots of things that work for that. When it's removing a mental block to getting an appointment, there are lots of things that will work. So if it's mental blocks that cause cancer, then Immunics will work. Emotional freedom technique would work. But it depends on the assumption of what causes the cancer. That's the key thing. If you're assuming that it's a physical cause, then there's no logic to say that Immunics will cure it. But if you're assuming that it's a mental cause, or a mental, emotional, or spiritual cause, something that's a thought process, then potentially Immunics could cure it. I don't know. It certainly works for some things, so the only way to know is to test it. Have a go at something that isn't as life-threatening as cancer. Test it. See if you like the assumptions and the process. If you do, then carry on. If you don't, then look at emotional freedom technique. Look at Reiki and those sorts of things. They've all got similar types of assumptions, but different techniques suit different people. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of situation. Personal development and psychological development it's very much a personal journey. It's been a personal journey for me. I've found the things that work for me, and they make no sense if you look at them from the outside and you're not me, but they make total sense to me at the time. Even looking back, some of them don't make sense. I went through a phase about 5 or 6 years ago when I first found Immunics. I was looking for cures for cancers on YouTube. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I remember spending the Easter weekend looking for cures for cancer on YouTube, and Immunics was one of the things I found. At the same time, I found Faster EFT, which is Robert Smith. And that's interesting because it's a combination of a whole lot of techniques. Oh, I know what I might do as well. There's a technique called B set free fast, which I didn't know anything about until last year, but that's quite nice as well. So what I want to do is play a little bit of Larry Nims, is the guy who discovered it. It comes from the same place. It comes from the same techniques as emotional freedom technique. Comes from Larry Callahan's the originator of these things with thought field therapy, and then everybody that he trained added their own things in. So Be Set Free Fast was interesting. Let's have a look at that. So I'll play you 10 minutes of Larry Nims. There's 3 videos. I think I'll play the first of the Larry Nims videos and then see how we get on with it.
I'm going to show you now how you can use BSFF for yourself. And I'll be giving an instruction to your subconscious mind so it'll know what you want it to do and what you're intending it to do. The conscious mind is the part of our mind we normally notice where we're thinking, we're picking up information through our sensory systems, we're trying to figure things out, we're assessing situations, and so on. The subconscious mind operates below our level of conscious awareness. It's another part or another aspect of our mind. And it records all of our experience that we're having from moment to moment, all of the information that's coming in. And it learns by being programmed, often with very strong emotions attached, to react specific ways in very, very specific and precise situations. And once it learns that message, it automatically causes us to react that way and that way only in that situation. So we don't really have the free and flexible choice that we need to really plan skillfully and carry out a good skillful plan for dealing with a particular situation. What we typically do is just automatically react because of the subconscious programming that dictates that. The subconscious mind is very literal and precise and specific about what things mean, about what words mean, about what experiences mean, and how they are to be interpreted. And it does that in only one way because it's been programmed to do that. And it is really most of the time running the show. This is why I often call the subconscious mind our faithful servant, because it just does what it's told to do. It's not our enemy, it's not our friend, it just does what it's told to do, and it has all of our history of experience and all of our resources available to draw on to make happen exactly what it's been programmed to cause in each specific situation. Choose a cue word. The cue word is a specific word, or it could be a very short phrase that you choose, and you choose whatever you want as a cue word that's going to become a signal to your subconscious mind. What triggers our subconscious mind to respond in the treatment is our actual conscious intention for the subconscious mind to eliminate or neutralize the problem that we have noticed and chosen to treat. It's actually our subconscious mind that does the treatment work for us. Our cue word signals that intention, and the subconscious very faithfully carries out the treatment work for us. Any word that you want to use as a signal to your subconscious mind that you intend for it to eliminate the emotional roots and the belief system that's controlling the problem that you don't want to keep anymore. In Be Set Free Fast, we refer to some difficulty that we're having, some maladaptive response or unpleasant experience that we're having as a problem, just a simple term. And an issue is a bunch of problems going on side by side in some particular situation or circumstance. And what we want to do here is to help the subconscious mind to clear up all the blocks and limitations and unpleasant experiences that it might be causing because it's been programmed to react a specific way in that particular situation. And so what we really speak to and address in Be Set Free Fast is what I call emotional roots and the belief systems that are guiding and directing and determining the outcome of what we're going to experience in each situation. And by emotional roots, I'm referring to unresolved emotions that are still connected to past experiences because we were never allowed to resolve them in our life. We were told to squelch them, to not let people know we were feeling and thinking what we were experiencing. And so we never got to finish that kind of emotional unfinished business. And we accumulate lots of those. I mean, really lots of them, literally thousands of them. And the subconscious mind just contains them all very well. And somewhere along the line, in each given situation, the programming builds up to where there is a belief that is established that says, in this particular circumstance, I am to react in this specific way. And the subconscious mind then simply carries that out on an automatic pilot for us, very, very faithfully. And we don't want it to a lot of times, and we'd like to change that. And that's where Be Set Free Fast comes in. So what I'm going to do now is give an instruction to your subconscious mind. Don't be concerned if you don't understand what all of these things mean right now. You can get that information later from looking at the video or from reading the book, and you'll get more understanding consciously. But your subconscious will not miss a lick. It understands everything. And you simply need to be in agreement that you want your subconscious mind to accept this. If you don't want to, then just pass it on by. That's all right. But you'll have some new interesting information. So here's the instruction to your subconscious mind. So subconscious, whenever he or she uses their cue word for a problem that they have consciously noticed that they don't want to keep anymore, you will eliminate all of the emotional roots and all beliefs that are controlling that particular problem. And you'll do that immediately and instantly and thoroughly. And you can do that for any problem that they ever choose to treat from now on under any circumstances. Here's how you use that cue word. To treat something means that we're simply using our cue word after we've identified or just simply noticed a particular problem that we don't want to keep anymore. And we say our cue word or just think it. It doesn't have to be out loud. And our subconscious mind then does all the treatment work for us. We don't have to do anything at all except to tell it to do the treatment. You don't even have to know what it is or be able to put it in words in order to effectively treat it. So again, we signal our intention to our subconscious mind for it to treat the problem by using our cue.
There you go. So that gives you an idea of what Be Set Free Fast is. I'm not going to play the other videos because I want to talk a little bit. I was using the keyword I use is all clear. So when I find a memory comes up for me or an issue from the past, I just I use all clear, or I tap I bang on my chest with my fist 3 or 4 times, and that seems to do the trick normally. It works for most of the things that I would use emotional freedom technique for. Be set free fast works for as well. Sometimes I use one, sometimes I use the other. It's easy to do at work because I can just bang on my chest. I don't have to actually say anything out loud. So it's the equivalent of what I do at work with emotional freedom technique, which is just tap on the side of my hand. It's that simple. You don't need anything more complicated than that. It's a physical anchor of something that's happening in your subconscious. So you can just keep it all simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. And as I say, different techniques suit different people and different situations. And you've got to work out what works for you ultimately. So you've got to try a few things until you find the ones that work. I'm just trying to give people like a signposting process. It's just I'll mention a technique on here. You have to go away and do your own research, talk to people, find the people locally that use the technique, work out what the assumptions are, find out whether it works for you, test it. Ultimately, do an experiment by using the technique. That's the key thing. And whatever definitions they're using of cure or treatment or whatever are always in the context of the technique. So different. You can mix and match your language a little bit, and I do sometimes. But the Immunics cures are very specific to Immunics. They've got they use cure for a lot of things in Immunics, as I've said, and they use treatment in Be Set Free Fast. They treat a situation, treat a condition. So that's kind of, you get the idea anyway. The language is different, the assumptions are different, the structures are different, but this is all about digging into your subconscious. With Immunics, everything they do is symbolic, really. So it's all about accessing your subconscious mind. Well, they don't ever say that, but that's what they're doing. So you can use the assumptions of Be Set Free Fast to analyze what happens with Immunics, and use the assumptions of Immunics and the viewpoint of Immunics to analyze what happens with Be Set Free Fast. You get an insight into both of them that way. That's what I did anyway. Okay, I'm going to find another video. We've got about a quarter of an hour, so if I put another 5-minute video on and then just do a little bit of talking around it. This seems to be the format that I work with at the moment. And I've been looking a little bit at the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein things that are going on, the arrest and pre-trial hearings and such like. I'm not playing anything from there, but there's a 6-minute tapping with Brad Yates, but he's got training in Be Set Free Fast, but he uses emotional freedom techniques. So I'll play this because it combines the two together, and I like Brad Yates.
So as I've said in other videos, emotional freedom technique, EFT, was developed by Gary Craig based on the work of Roger Callahan. Well, Dr. Callahan had other students, and one of his great students was a gentleman named Larry Nims. And Larry also developed his own tapping style, which he called Be Set Free Fast, or BSFF. And it has evolved over time as well. But there are aspects of BSFF that I sometimes bring into the way that I do EFT or tapping. So I want to show you this quick little routine that I do based on BSFF. So I'm not making any claims that I'm doing it. This is not be set free fast. I mean, the tapping that I do is arguably not emotional freedom technique. It's not EFT as Gary defines it necessarily. So I just tap. I do tapping, and it's based on these the landmark work of these great pioneers. So with gratitude to Dr. Larry Nims, I'm going to show you this way of doing it. So go ahead and think about an issue that you have, something that is upsetting you, and you can rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. And then just follow along with what I do, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Even though I have this issue, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I have this issue, I choose to love and honor myself. Even though I have this issue, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself and anyone else who may have contributed to this issue. I am now eliminating all of the sadness and trauma in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now eliminating all of the anger and resentment in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now eliminating all of the fears in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now releasing all of the embarrassment in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now eliminating all of the shame and guilt in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now releasing any remaining fears in any of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. I am now releasing all of the low self-esteem in all of the roots and the deepest cause of all of this issue. Setting myself free in body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. So just borrowing some of the wordings from BSFF as I learned it quite a few years ago. And it just gives you a formula to go through and clear out a lot of the different emotions involved in an issue. And it can be very releasing and healing. So it sets you free to be more of who you can be. And thanks for doing so. So as I've said in other videos.
Right, okay. So that's from Brad Yates's YouTube channel, and the video is called "Be Set Free Fast Tapping with Brad Yates," brackets with a bit of BSFF, close brackets. So it's easy enough to find. If you put "Be Set Free Fast" and Brad Yates into YouTube, you'll find it anyway. And I've got I extracted the audio from a lot of his stuff and a lot of other stuff from YouTube and put it onto a radio station last year. I don't really promote it, but it's linked on my Twitter account. My Twitter account is @DennisBarker, and Dennis is two N's. So DennisBarker is my Twitter account. And if you want to go direct to the radio station, it's radioprojects.co.uk. Right, so that's that. Most of the stuff that I put on there was personal development stuff, some of which I've referenced already on here. And then there's also my main website at the moment, which is freeassociationradioshow.com, which if I'm watching videos during the week, I post them on there. You're welcome to post comments or whatever on the website. I was going to make this an interactive show, but it didn't quite happen like that. So the last piece for the day is a little bit of interaction. I've got a playlist on Spotify called J. Edgar Hoover the Musical, which is a kind of just a free association, let it happen combination of music, based around the idea that J. Edgar Hoover and Little Richard were having a gay relationship for a good part of the 60s and late 50s, based on a biography of Little Richard written by a guy who's local here. I don't think any of it's particularly real. It's not necessarily accurate, but it gave me the idea for the Spotify playlist. So if anybody's got any ideas for music that could be in a musical theatre production based around the life of J. Edgar Hoover, those would be welcome as well. There's a few things that I do at work that I might talk about as well. There's a Thursday afternoon, or there used to be a Thursday afternoon delivery of beer to where I work. There's a wholesalers opposite, so and they get a beer delivery on a Thursday. I call it Terminator Delivery Day. So I've got this whole post-apocalyptic scenario running in my head when the beer truck arrives, with vans arriving with guns and all the rest of it. All of it just to keep myself amused at work, really. But if anybody's got any contributions that they want to make towards that, those are welcome on the website as well. There's a scenario that I run when the sandwich van arrives. The sandwich van's called the New York Deli. So I've got this scenario in my head called the New York Deli Clown Murders, which is about a serial killing deli van, basically, but they're specifically targeting clowns. And this van plays an off-key version of New York, New York, which is very creepy indeed. I'm going to have to make a recording of it to get the creepiness across, because it's difficult to describe until you've actually heard it. But I've been working in this bit of Gateshead for off and on for about 12 years, and the New York Deli van has been a fixture for most of that time. Anyway, we're coming to the end of the show, so I'm here every week at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's sometimes personal development, sometimes a bit of fun, sometimes me just ranting. It's all just bits and pieces, but it's my journey essentially. I'm just inviting you to share my journey and take what you want from it, do what you want with it. Hopefully some of the stuff I'm talking about might be interesting enough to get your attention. And if you test it and it works, again, leave me a comment on the website, which is freeassociationradioshow.com. Right, I'm gonna dive out now because I think we've got the music coming up very soon. So I'll be back next week. Revolution Radio is listener supported, so we welcome donations. If you go to revolution.radio, there's a place on there to become a Patreon and give monthly donations if you can. If not, you can do one-off donations as well. But everything's welcome. Nobody takes a salary for anything that we do here. Uh,